sharing, I'm going to invite the person who probably has been part of the solstice celebration, if not the longest, certainly the most devotedly. I'm going to ask ReBekka, also known among us as Becky, to share something. It probably would be good, Becky, to come to the mic. What, no applause?
As they say on the radio nearly every day, we live in unprecedented times. So in these times, I am vowing to hold on to the knowingness of the kindness amongst us all, and to encourage us to reach out in kindness to one another throughout the coming year.
And we will light a candle. We will light a candle in honor of each thing somebody says. So,
In case you don't know, this is John Porcino.
yeah. Anyway, I guess if I was to share a hope for the world, it'd be something like this. These seem like pretty hard times we're in. Does everyone agree, or some agree? And I would hope that we would still wake up on that first snowy morning and notice still how every single leaf and every single twig and every single blade of grass is glistening with snow. And despite all that, see it as something beautiful.
I'm going to repeat that because it's such an important one, especially coming from such an innocent speaker. She is grateful for life. Definitely beats the alternative.
Okay, so as the mom, I'm saying I am very grateful for my daughters. I am grateful for traditions like this. And my daughter Ella said that her dream for the world is that every person is safe. And my other daughter said that she is grateful for friends and family, joy and smiles.
I must be doing something right.
I'm grateful for this church, which is my church, and we have such a loving and wonderful community.
I'm grateful for nature.
Since we're in church, I'll just say amen. I feel like I'm a talk show host.
I'm grateful for flowing water on the lake to swim in December.
This must be the Church of Miracles.
I'm grateful for my family and for my friends who are also family.
It's lovely to have friends who are also friendly.
I'm grateful for my family and people around me who keep me safe.
So this may sound like a non sequitur, but in my church, being that I'm Jewish, I'm a Unitarian, we always think that there may have been a dream or a wish that was left unspoken. So we want to let the light of the candles reflect those as well. And I'll close this opening ritual with a very short poem from a wonderful singer-songwriter, David Wilcox, who wrote, "If it wasn't for the night, so cold and dark this time of year, would the stars ever shine so bright, so beautiful, so clear?" Wait, I'm not done yet.
You are dark. You are cold. You are barren. You in the north have made your land ready. I know who you are.
Don't say nothing, but must know something. Old man Winter, he keeps me shaken at night. He brings down snowing and cold winds are blowing for 3 months showing and a long nights going. Old man Winter, he keeps me shaken at night. Folks get weary, trees bend over, I get heavy upon my shoulder. Cold and lonely, winter has only begun. Old man Winter, that old man Winter, he don't say nothing, but must know something. Old man Winter, he keeps me shaken at night.
And then, one day, a change seems to be approaching. Do you know what that means? Do you know what's coming?
As the winter turns to spring, so the birds rejoice and sing. When the dark of winter waves moves aside for sunny days, don't be lost in warm persuasion. Don't forget on this day all the fun of slippery slopes, honeyed hams and onion soups, warming up around the stove, trying out new cozy clothes.
Now the thermostat is left unguarded, allowing Solstice to just get started. We smell it coming. The sound of humming is near.
Blue sky French fry, fire magpie.
pizza pie.
Sensory dispensary, damp and bouncy, sun announcing soft and silky, butter melty. Sensory dispensary, damp and bouncy, sun announcing soft and silky, butter melty, butter milky, butter milky, butter milky. That old man Winter, he don't say nothing, but must know something. Old man Winter, he keeps me shaking at night. Dark in winter, light in spring, we imagine while we sing. Season changes, time will show us the way. Dark in winter, light in spring, who can choose between these things? I am happy either way. Both can bring a joyful day.
Fun for all of us in this ensemble is we don't see what the other people are going to do. So we just got to see the skit for the first time, and let's thank them again. Velvet black, inky black. Isn't it a shock in November when you get used to all of a sudden night falls and there's this whole adjustment, and now we're inside it, coming to the end of one season and coming into winter. Stories restore us. I heard a Texas storyteller, Kaya Hartwood, say that. She said, "We are restoried." And if someone doesn't listen to our story, she says we are destoried, destroyed. And so for us, it's so important to gather and hear each other. One of the exciting things tonight is our guest artists. We want to introduce you to who you're going to get to meet later. So, hello, One Part Luck from Cummington. This is John By and Peg Cowan. And what's so funny is that they had the luck in their first CD. They had a song in it called My Old Truck, and the radio show Car Talk played it. So that is a great thing that happened for you. So welcome. We get to have 2 guest artists join the ensemble. We also want to thank Larry Spotted Crow Man from Okateo Cultural Center. He founded it along with Rhonda Anderson, and the 2 of them have been directing it, and they have so many amazing programs. One was called The Living Presence of Our History. So they want to serve all indigenous nations, becoming known, becoming honored, restoried. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Larry, and he's going to be in the second half. He's an award-winning writer, poet, cultural educator, traditional storyteller, tribal drummer, and dancer of the Nipmuc Nation. Thank you for being here today.
So can you ask me, John, tell us something important? The bathrooms. There's only one way to the bathrooms. It's through that door, down the stairs, and to the left, you'll see 2 bathrooms there. Got it? Here's something that would really help the show. If you need to go to the bathroom, wait till people are applauding and skip out. And maybe wait by the door until the next act comes. Fair enough? Second thing is, we've been doing this for 39 years ago. 39 years, right? 39 years ago, we were all bright-eyed, and we thought we'd fill the night with stories. That was our idea, fill the night with story and song. And we literally did. There's one person here who was a child coming to those shows. Would you stand up if you were a child and now you're a grown-up coming to those shows? Right. She remembers the time where we went on all night, people brought blankets and pillows and laid on the floor, right? She remembers that, right? And sometimes they fell asleep. Falling asleep is perfectly welcome at this show. Also perfectly welcome, and I want you to hear this, is that when your family has had their fill, it's a little bit of a long concert. We've tried really hard to keep it tight, but there's many of us. When your family's had their fill, just in between acts, feel free to go. No pressure. We'll wave you goodbye. Thumbs up if that's good with you. Okay? Take that in. We mean that. And if there's 10 people here at the end, we'll celebrate. I'm the last act, so. Programs. We didn't anticipate so many amazing people coming, so there are not lots of programs. There are more. Oh, okay. I was thinking if your family had 2 or 3, you could hold it up and pass it to some family that doesn't have any. And there was one more thing I wanted to say, but it's, just so everyone knows, intermission will come, we promise. And downstairs, as is our tradition, on the other side of the bathrooms, there are lots of refreshments, and those are free and a celebration of us coming together on this night. So come join, have a little something. There are some books and some CDs and other stuff for sale down there. You're welcome to take a peruse of that. But we mostly are so glad you're here.
So great to see everybody here. We want you to know that with open hearts, we acknowledge that we are gathered here in the unceded historical homelands of the Pocumtuck, Nonotuck, Mohican, and Nipmuc. And importantly, We acknowledge tribal sovereignty and emphasize that the Nipmuc Nation is still here. We acknowledge that the Stockbridge Munsee Band of Mohican continues to connect to this area of their historical homelands. We're happy to support our neighbors at the Okateo Cultural Center right up the road here in Ashfield. They are one of the beneficiaries of tonight's event. We encourage you to look into this and to support the essential work done for the Native communities where you live. Now, as we enter into this evening of stories and song, it feels especially fitting to honor the gift of storytelling of First Nations as a means to appreciate all beings of this earth. Welcome.
The Long Line. This is the first part of a two-part story. I want you to be able to see something that's invisible. I love thinking about the long line of all of the people who've put their love into the earth, who brought their conscience, their heart, their community building. When I think about the long line, it changes life for me. It's like we're no longer individuals, but we're all giving into this larger presence, this heart of the world. A place near here where I really feel the long line particularly strongly. Don't know if you know about it, but it's called Starseed Healing Center. It's just 20 minutes west, and the director and the founder is Satyena Ananda. In the last couple of years, it's become her custom because Starseed has been there for nearly 40 years to have people come into the labyrinth and pray for the world, pray for peace. So when you stand in the labyrinth, you're feeling this sacred of all the prayers that have gathered, all the prayers. During these last weeks, Satyena and I have been calling each other on the telephone, sometimes twice a day, and we pray into the heart of the world. So one night recently, Satyena didn't reach me by phone, but in a dream. I saw Satyena in a dream, and she had a long gold ribbon. And on the ribbon, there were all these names of people calling out. For I think we each have our own sense of the long line, who comes forward to us. Oh, let me tell you about them. I'd have to go back very far. I'd have to go back 10,000 years to first see the women leaders, the Sonsquas, and how they would be planting, and still are, the women leaders, the Sonsquas, planting the seeds, harvesting, making sure everyone has food. So the long line doesn't only have names, but it has a presence and a sense. This long line is celebrated by Dr. Lisa Brooks in her book, Our Beloved Kin. So that meeting Warabita, meeting Witamu, meeting Sonsquas year after year. When I think about the stars, I wonder if they help hold up these beacons that are so important for sharing the light. My friend, Mayor Shevin, was a beacon. He was a leader of disability rights, and when he got throat cancer, it was hard for him to keep singing. So I know that his songs still aren't being sung on the earth. I wanted to do one tonight. Mayor Shevin, this is his. It's talking about the stars. And I think that the stars must have this way of bouncing the light of all the people in the long line. Night has come, my dear one. The dark wraps around us. Night is here, my dear one. The stars gather round. If you listen, quiet and still, you will hear the stars whisper their names. Through the dark silence, they dance above us, and all through the night, they will sing their loving secret song. And all through the night, they will sing their loving secret song. Try it with me. And all through the night, they will sing their loving secret song. The long line.
With the longer nights of the winter, the stars seem to shine more brightly and more clear. People used to, and some still can, navigate by them. But sometimes they're so bright, you can get lost in them. And they can feel so close, you might be able to reach out and touch them. I have 3 friends that are going to help me tell a story. This is a story from the time, try to imagine this, before smartphones. The time before GPS. The time when we had to ask directions. So Gary, Rona, Rochelle, come on up. You see, in these, before all that tech, that makes this an ancient folk tale. I'm going to step over here. Rochelle, could you step over to Rona's left? So, in those long ago times, I was getting to a winter performance that I was booked to do. And, in those times, you might get sent directions or you might take directions over the phone, but the reality when you're trying to know which turn to take and trying to read your directions and drive at the same time. And in this case, I didn't feel like I was on track, and I was getting nervous because it was getting late, and I didn't think I'd be on time. But then, and the problem was too that I was looking for a place where I could ask directions, maybe a gas station or a store, or you remember these? There might be a pay phone. But I seemed to be in an area that didn't have any of these. It was kind of out in the country. But then, to my relief, I saw 3 people standing by the roadside. Well, perhaps they were out for a walk, or maybe they were just admiring the evening, what they could take in and what they could see. So I carefully parked my car, and I got out and approached them to see if I could get my bearings from them. But as I got closer, I noticed that they were acting a little strangely. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't understand what I was seeing. And I stood there for a while watching them, and I couldn't really snap out of it for a minute. But then curiosity got the better of me, and I went up to them, and I just had to ask. And I said to the first one, I was going to ask you something else, but I have to ask you, what are you doing?
Why, I'm plucking stars.
That's good. Have a good time. Leave a few, please. So then, of course, I had to ask the second one, excuse me, what are you doing?
Shh, I'm stealing the stars.
You're stealing his stars? I won't tell. I know what they, well, I just have to ask you. I was afraid to, but I just have to at this point. Should I ask her? Okay. Could you please tell me what on earth you're doing?
Well, they are crazy. I'm running away.
Well, I didn't quite know what to do or say for a few minutes, but the more time I spent with these people, the more I realized these were my kind of people. And so I eventually did manage to ask them directions, and they told me very clearly how to get where I was going, and that just shows to go you what fine, helpful people you can find when you're out on the road.
So perhaps, like many of you, or perhaps many of you like me, really enjoy the winter because that is the time we can put our bird feeders out and fill them up with black oil sunflower seed and other sunflower seeds and wait for all our old friends to show up. The chickadees and the nuthatches and the woodpeckers. But I had a little problem. So there's 5 woodpeckers in our area, and the biggest 3 are pretty easy to tell apart from each other. But the 2 littlest ones, the Downy woodpecker and the hairy woodpecker, they look a lot alike, and I would have a really hard time telling them apart. So I wrote a poem that became a song that I'm going to share with you tonight because it helped me be able to tell them apart. And maybe it can help you too. Woodpecker comes, we've got something he needs. Woodpecker comes to eat sunflower seeds. His wings are all checkered with black and with white, red spot on his head and white stripe down his back. Woodpecker comes, we've got something he needs. Woodpecker comes to eat sunflower seeds. Oh, look, another woodpecker is landing with similar specks and with black and white banding. They look just like twins, but oh, they're not quite. Though different species, their difference is slight. See, hairy is bigger if both will stay still, and hairy has also a longer length bill. It's easy to see when they sit side by side, but how can you tell when just one bird is spied? Well, you look at the feathers, the side of his tail. If there are dark spots, then you know without fail that Downy's the polka dot. Guess that you see. And Downy and Dots both begin with a D. Woodpeckers come, we've got something they need. Woodpeckers come to eat sunflower seeds. So to remember the birds, Say these woodpecker words. Downies have dots. Harry's have not.
Summer, can you hear? Okay. Summer was coming to an end. And Ivan the peasant decided it was, oh dear, high time to go off and collect some of his firewood for the winter. So he went to his horses and he hooked them up to his cart, and off they went into the forest. And he was surprised how quickly he was able to fill his cart. He was so happy that as he was driving back, he was whistling and singing and thinking like, look what I did. I filled that whole cart so quickly. And also, he was very, very proud that he had trained his yearling so well. They had done a terrific job with him into the woods. In fact, they were even going along kind of like trotting to the tunes that he was singing in time. Just then, they go through the forest and they come to an open glade. And all of a sudden, the cart, it stops completely dead. And nothing that Ivan did could force those horses to move even a little teeny inch forward. And the harder that he tried, the more they neighed and even reared. And then he noticed that they were looking fixedly off into the glade. He got down from his cart and he went around to take a look himself. And there, coming towards him, was a big bear. What? He knew this bear. Danilo. Hey, what you doing? Are you out looking for something? Yeah, you bet I am. I'm looking for a place to hide. Hide? Where do you wanting to hide from? Not from you nor any man. But it's starting to get cold. And I need to hide from winter, for it really scares me. You? Afraid? Aren't you stronger than winter? Oh, well, I wish that I could take it between my paws and squish it down to nothing, and then I wouldn't ever have to be afraid of being hungry again. What? You hungry? Well, that's hard to imagine, and, quite frankly, a little fasting might do you some good. Which reminds me, did not appreciate that you took one of my sheep last year. Kind of like a bit of a sin, I would say. Now, wait a minute, said Danilo. You eat sheep too, huh? It's only a sin when a bear eats it. What would you want me to do? Die of hunger? And besides that, the life of the bear is different from that of a person. Look, you've got a nice house, and then you're going to warm it with all that wood that you have, and you've got clothes, and you've got your food all canned up in your larder. And me, what do I have? Me and my bear friends, we have this like little belayered skin with a bit of hair on it. That's it. So I am going right now to find me a good lair in which I can cuddle up and keep warm over the winter. Okay, I understand. I believe that you're going to go and you're going to find that lair, but goodness, how in heaven's name are you going to eat, and what else are you going to do throughout that whole winter? Well, again, This is how we are a little bit different than you people. Hurry. See this fat layer on me? 4 inches. That keeps us warm. It serves as a sort of insulation. And then that insulation is eaten away by the organs inside us to keep our hearts pumping and our breathing happening. And anyway, we may sleep throughout the winter and, so we wake up in the springtime and we're a little bit skinny, as not skin and bones, but we've made it through the winter. So, Downy, I really gotta go. I've gotta find my lair now. Hey, a minute. Downy, now, I have an idea. We have like this shed area that's next to our barn, and no one's living in it. And I'm thinking this might make you a good home for the winter. And then I could feed you, and then you would be warm and comfy and fed. And then maybe in the springtime you could do us a return favor by guarding my beehive so that no one comes and steals my honey. Well, it took about 2 seconds before Danilo was up sitting on that perch beside Ivan on his couch, and then off they went, straight to that shed, and Danilo couldn't believe it. That shed was even better than he had imagined. It was quite large, and it had hay all over the floor, and as soon as he arrived, in came Mila with a big bowl of borscht, and it was like this day after day. He didn't have to do anything. He said, boy, this is the life. And then he started dreaming about how great it was going to be in the summertime when he was guarding those honeycombs and all that honey. He was at to taste. Except there were a few drawbacks to this relationship. For example, one day Ludmila came to bring him the borscht, and following her was her dog. And when the dog saw Danilo, he attacked him and nearly tore him to bits. And then there were those cows who lived in that neighboring shed. I mean, for some reason, they decided they didn't like him, and they spent all their day snorting and making names and calling them all kinds of horrible things. And poor Danilo began to think that he didn't have a friend in the world. And the worst was that one night, Ivan and Ludmila were talking together, and they got to worry about what would happen if Danilo discovered their chickens. They began to think that they wouldn't have a flock left pretty soon. So they decided to put a metal collar around Danilo's neck. To that collar they attached a chain which they tied up to a post, and there Danilo was. Couldn't walk more than maybe 4 or 5 feet in any direction. He put up with this for a small bit of time or some time, and then one day he got up his courage. Hey, it's kind of tricky to stay here in this shed without moving around. My legs, they're beginning to ache a little bit. I'm wondering if you would mind taking off this collar just for a little bit so that I can go and take a walk. I said, get some exercise. I said, sure, Danilo. And so Danilo, he walks through that barn door and he open. Ooh, wow, it was chilly out there. And Ivan comes behind him, and Daniela turns to him and says, Ivan, I want to thank you for your hospitality. You've given me such a great place to stay, food, but I'm afraid I can't stay here any longer. And with that, he took off, running faster than the fastest hare that you had ever seen. And he didn't stop running until he got right into the middle of the woods when he sat down to reflect. Freedom, he said, even if you may be hungry, is better than any one day in captivity, no matter how much food you may be fed. Sure that this is a popular story now told in Ukraine.
How is everybody?
Hard to see you out there.
We got all the lights.
Well,
So much fun to be part of this lovely event.
kind of a spell that's been woven. And pick up on some of the themes in 2 songs now and then 2 in the second set. Lots of animal references. This first one.
It's a true story.
true story that was based on. John is the primary songwriter between us, and he was out in the backyard playing his banjo, which he does. Like sometimes when I can't find him in the house, I just listen a little bit and follow banjo notes, and they're out there somewhere. This is one of those days, and he came in and like, oh my God, this thing happened, and a dragonfly had landed on his foot while he was playing the banjo. So it inspired this, and he came in and just wrote the song, or the song wrote itself, perhaps. But this next song is, you all live in the hill towns or very nearby, right? This song is about where we all live. And it's also about the seasons. It's a little autobiographical, so thank you for tolerating that ahead of time. And thank you ahead of time. It's called In These Hills. That last song was called Dragonfly. This one's called In These Hills. And I'm talking long enough.
Yes, so the banjo can get tuned.
Get tuned.
You're doing a good job.
And I think I've run out though, so.
It's okay, I think I'm ready. It's also a true story.
Yeah.
Called In These Hills.
In these hills, snow comes early, settles soft on resting ground, till a sweet song again arises, holds the living ground. In these hills, long days linger, soothing sun warms our souls, till once more comes the turning, our eyes fill with reds and gold. Oh, I've heard the tales of heaven, mansions gleam on a golden shore, where pain and sorrow we view as we pass through Peter's door. Though I pray I'll go to heaven, and its glories to be shown, there can be no heaven dearer than these hills that I've come home. In these hills we came together, soon to be man and wife, with our arms around each other. We made ourselves a life. In these hills we had our babies, raised them up true and strong. In their time came the leaving, to find lives of their own. In these hills I've done my living, gave my word, took my rest, had my trials and my troubles, still I found happiness. In these hills may come my dying, and the hour sweetest bit of heaven here on earth. Oh, I've heard the tales of heaven, mansions gleam on the golden shore, where pain and sorrow leave you as you pass through Peter's door. Though I pray of God I am, and its glories to be shown, there can be no heaven nearer than these hills and I've gone home. There can be no heaven dearer than these hills that I call home.
Hi, my name is Yosl, and this is probably around the 25th or so year that I've been part of this winter solstice celebration. Every year, the performers who come donate their services because we believe in, aside from the importance of bringing people together on a dark winter night, the organizations that we support by your donations. The first one is the UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, which works to ensure, or to try to give relief to people who are forced to leave their homes through war or hatred, and they work in many, many different lands. The second is the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts, which has for many years provided food for people who don't have the means to provide it for themselves, and works towards food justice for everybody. The third one is the Okiteo Cultural Center, Native American Learning Center, and our guest, Larry Sprague, Crow Man, is one of the founders of the organization. And I have to say I've been to at least one program that they've given, and it has been a very heartwarming place to be, and to see an old culture, an endangered culture, being taught to the young people of the community. So, if you haven't already donated, if you have the means to donate, we don't set a specific amount. You're welcome to give again, if you like. And if you're at home, there should be a link on the donation, on the Zoom chat, where you can make your donation. So thank you very much.
Magic, when the light returns and the days grow longer. On June 27th, I will enter my 8th decade. That's a good 6 months, ample time to purchase an expensive present, write a funny card. I'm kidding about the card. How many people does it take to turn a microphone? on June 27th, I enter my 8th decade, a good 6 months away. Ample time to purchase an expensive present and write a funny card. I'm kidding about the card. There's no present like feeling young. And the older I get, the more I disagree with the idea of acting your age. So I'll let you know right off the bat that the moral of my story is regress for success. Act 1. How close can a man come to the fountain of youth? For my music, the best way to beat the march of time and the December dark is 2 4-letter words. Parents, you don't have to cover your kids' ears. PLAYGOLF. Well, there's green all around me, and I'm out in the sun. A fully grown man whose sole focus is fun. I'm keeping this microphone on my ear. The great thing is to shoot. I tried to kill it and I shanked my shot so severely the sphere veers wildly. I forget how fickle and cruel the golf gods can be, which could explain why Mark Twain memorably defined the game as a good walk, ruin. Sure enough, after several more self-inflicted wounds, resulting in such a royally ruinous round, I ruefully added an addendum to Twain's adage. God, the most socially sanctioned form of masochism. In mid-misery, 2 regress for success, 4 3-word maxims popped into my brain. Lower your standard. Don't complain, refrain. Pal, freed from the twin tyrannies of expectations and judgments, just like that, the sport went from being a good walk ruined to being a scenic stroll savored. I was so positively serene, even when I whacked such a long shot that it whistled off into the woods, instead of stomping down the fairway in frustration, I started skipping the light fandango. Right on cue, a playful tune popped into my head. A Disney song sung by Satchmo, and with any luck, my friend Porcino will help you give a little feel for the melody, and as soon as you get it, please sing along.
And don't skip a beat.
Plenty of sunshine coming my way. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day. Mr. Bluebird
wonderful day and a nifty night when I got home and told my daughter about her skip, hip, pop. Yes, the more she learned about her dad's zany antics and some of the strange looks and wide-eyed stares I got from the staid old-timers who think that proper golf etiquette does not involve skipping, erupted in laughter, with rafts of joyful tears merrily sledding down her cheeks. She looked at her old man and she said, "Dad, I can't believe you're going to be 70 in June. You're like a juvenile delinquent. You've got the exuberance of a 6-year-old and the social decorum of a teenage rebel." I chuckled and said, "Childish as charged. Be a kuka." What can I tell you? I think age is a state of mind. And if you don't mind, I won't state mine. Growing older is not optional. But I'm betting that the more ebullient our emotions, the longer our lifespans. And to quote no lesser a luminary than the late Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, we do not quit playing because we grow old. We grow old because we quit playing. Then I looked at my daughter and I said, "See, now you finally understand what I always used to say to your mother, but honey, immaturity keeps me young." The next day, with keen anticipation, I yearned to drive the bat car right to the same bat location. I returned to the scene of the rhyme. Joy stepped up to meet me. The sun was shining. My swing was sweetly aligning. And it put such zing in my zest that somewhere around the 4th hole, I regressed. I burst into uncontrolled ecstatic skipping again. I'm just dancing down the fairway, skipping the late fandango, every stride a glide, every skip at a quicker clip. And as I'm zipping along, the same Satchmo song comes back to me. Only this time, I've got lyrics for a parody. A 1, a 2, a we know what to do. Zippity-doo-dah, skippity-dah. When I skip, my kid can't feel sad. Skipping and zipping, hip hip hooray. Long as I'm skipping, I'm A-OK. Social mores don't condone it. There's no app you can find on the phone of any smart kind. Skip all that fancy technology. Just that skipping sets our feet free. What more can I say? It's plain to see. Play fills my inner child with glee. Hopping and bopping is good for the soul. Skip to my Lou will make you feel whole. Culture. That applause I earned. All right, here's the dramatic finish. Culture vultures florid. It's no trim, no proper. Anti-woke groups will abhor it. I need a bigger ear. How many times have you heard a man ask for something larger in that department? So, here's where we were. Anti-woke groups will abhor it, which is precisely why we must never take the ball off our eye. Or is that take our eye off the ball? No matter. Skipping's a joyful, kid thing to do. If you're uncertain, here is a clue. It takes fools all time, makes them like glue. I want to give an extra hand for my apprentice.
Gotta be like this, just to get us going. Just a little snap there. That's fine. Now a little bit like this. Stand, clap, clap, stand, clap, stand. No, not that. Let's get a little faster now like this.
This past summer, is this on? Can you hear me? Yes. I see his mic ping for the evening. This summer, I had the great good fortune of hearing the singer-songwriter, amazing human being, Jencks perform, Jencks. And I don't know if you know him. If you don't know Jencks for his work, look him up. Pretty cool human being. And I got one of his albums when I was at the concert, and there was a song in there called "The Longest Night of the Year." And I listened to it and thought instantaneously, holy moly, I need to bring this to the Solstice celebration. So I recruited some of my friends who were very game to play music on this. So this is "The Longest Night of the Year" by Jencks.
Standing in the dark, we light a candle as we hold on to the hope that things will change, that love will lead the way back into the light.
realized, Joe and I, as we were sitting there, Yosl, that we wanted to mention two people who aren't here tonight. Two storytellers, Bob Reiser, who has been with us for many years, and he passed away just recently. And he was such a fun storyteller, and also a writer who collaborated with Pete Seeger. And I remember, I'm a librarian, so I remember taking a librarians, yay! Finding a book on the shelf, information book that kids would go to for writing a paper, written by Bob Reiser. He wrote a lot of different kinds of things. And the other person who is not with us tonight, she's sitting at our home in Greenfield, and she doesn't Zoom. So it's Jay Goldspinner, who was in her 90s, a storyteller from the beginning of our group, 39 years ago, when we used to meet in our living rooms. And we would come together and have a potluck, and we would share stories, and one person's house one time and another person's house another time. And that's how we started. And then we began in Northampton doing our winter solstice celebration for many years, until we were at Becky's house in Coleraine, the famous round house. Fabulous. Yeah. So we're missing them, and let's all say, hi Jay, we missed you. Jay, we miss you. So, I noticed with some of the stories, it's funny how things happen. I like how things work together. Stars, there were stars in these stories, right? So this is a story from my main man, Carl Sandburg, who I hope some of you know the work of. He wrote 2 volumes of stories for his children called the ReBekka stories. Anybody heard of them? Okay, so they're really fun stories. They're not all funny. Some are very serious. Some are very poetical. They're all kind of zany. They're wonderful stories. And the ReBekka stories take place in the ReBekka country. And when we talk about ReBekkas, we spell it with R-O-O-T instead of R-U-T. Anyway, so it starts like this. Sometimes on a December or January evening, if you go out walking on a country road, well, you might look up at the stars. And it seems like the sky comes right close to your nose. And it seems like sometimes the stars look like the arithmetic writing of a girl just going to school and starting her numbers, the number 4 and 7 and 4 and 7 over and over. And it was on a night like this that Hagglyhoagly was walking on a country road. And when he looked up, it seemed like the sky came close to his nose, and he saw fixed in the stars the numbers 7 and 4, 4 and 7. And it was cold, and the wind blew, and it came and blew an icy, clammy clamp like a nipping, gripping clothespin right on his nose. So he took his mittens, and he rubbed his nose warm. And he said, Mittens, thank you for keeping my nose warm. Now he spoke to his mittens like they were kittens or pups or cub bears or 2 little Idaho ponies. He called them his chums, keeping them company. He says, you know, Mittens, where we're going? We're going to the home of Susan Slackentwist. She's the daughter of the ReBekka king, and I'm going to sing her a serenade song. He said, Mittens, you know what I got here under my left elbow? Well, I'll tell you, it's not a mandolin, it's not a concertina, nor a fiddle, it's a guitar. It's a Spanish, splishy guitar made special. Now they told me a young, strong man ought to have a piano, because a piano is a good thing to have in the house, and could put flowers on it and books, overcoats. But I snizzled at him. I said, I seen a Spanish, splishy guitar down in the hardware store window for $8.50, and after oat thrashing was all thrashed and rutabaga digging was all dug, I took $8.50, and I went down to the hardware store, and I stood outside with my hands in my vest pockets with my money, thinking how proud I'd be when I got what I was going to buy. And I went inside, and I said to the clerk, Sir, the article I desire to have after I purchase it is that article in the window, the Spanish, splishy guitar. And you know, Mittens, we're gonna go and sing a serenade song, and just then the wind blew and tried to blow the guitar out from under his left elbow, but the harder it blew, the harder he held it where he wanted it. And he walked his long legs, taking long steps, and then he stopped and he sniffed. Do I smell something? They go, oh yeah. That's the big rutabaga field near the home of Susan Slackentwist and her father, the ReBekka king. And he went right up to the house, and he stood under the window, and he swung the guitar around, ready to play the tune that goes with the song. And then he said, Mittens, do I take you off or do I keep you on? If I take you off, the bitter cold wind is going to freeze my fingers so stiff I won't be able to play. I will play the guitar with my mittens on. And he did. And it was the first time that any strong young man ever did such a thing in the ReBekka country. And many a girl said later to their lovers, if you wish to marry me, will you stand under my window in a bitter cold winter weather and play the guitar with your mittens on? Now Susan Slackentwist, she opened up her window and she tossed down a snowbird feather as a keepsake to remember her by. And Henry Hagglyhoagly walked home on his long legs, taking long steps, and he said to his mittens, this Spanish, splishy guitar is gonna bring us luck. And he looked up at the sky, and it seemed it came down close to his nose, and he could see the stars were like the arithmetic writing of a girl just going to school and writing the numbers 7 and 4 and 7 and 4 over and over again.
I wrote this song some 30 years ago in Yiddish in the hope that I wouldn't still be singing it today, except perhaps as a historical artifact. It's a midrash. Midrash is a story, it's a Jewish tradition for, in the old days, the rabbis and poets to make up a story that fleshes out the stories that we read in the Bible. And this one is about Isaac and Ishmael, the two sons of Abraham. According to the Torah, Ishmael made sport of Isaac. And Isaac's mother asks Abraham, their father, to send Ishmael away. How can I send this boy away, says Abraham. He's my son. But God tells Abraham not to worry, because although Isaac is his heir, Ishmael too will become the father of a great nation. And tradition tells us that Isaac is the father of the Jewish people, and Ishmael is the father of the Arab people. In this midrash, Isaac, though he is relieved that his brother is no longer beating him up, that is, he imagines that his brother must hate him. He tries to imagine what has become of Ishmael and what would happen if they should meet again. As he becomes older, he tells his own son, Srilik, that's the Yiddish nickname for Israel, that it's time to end this conflict that has continued for generations. Avrom, 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 Tate, was hast du gemacht? Hast du weggeschickt, mein Bruder, was hat von mir gewacht? Hast du weggeschickt, den Bruder, mein einzigen Begleiter, gewusst mich elend, einsam, in der unmittiger Nacht. Emes macht ihr Häusig von mir und schluckt mir euch in Kopf. Blutig, wer ich täglich hatte, stupt mich herab. Ich hab geholt, mir sollen sich wehren, Softkuss auf mein Freund. Labe wird haben mir nur Feind. O Ishmael, oi mein Bruder, wo bist du gelaufen? Ist Wuje west sich Walgrünen, Wuje west du schlafen. Wuje west sich Walgrün, mit welcher fremde Lein. Und Wuje hast du mir gesagt, hast sich mit mir getroffen. Gedenkst, vielleicht machen Häusig und vielleicht schlagen mir den Kopf. Gedenkst die alte Täglein, vielleicht stuppen mich herab. Es wird werden von dir eine mächtige Umme, Kakos auf Bateure, und damit will ich haben für dir Meure. Srillig, Sindel, was wirst du tun? Dem Vetters Kinder stehen gegen Mittaggrünen von. Dem Vetters Kinder stehen gegen, gekommen ist die Zeit. Als keiner ist, mich tadelt sich nicht, die Milchoma führt sich an. Kinder, die ihr Husche von Seiten kommt mit Schreck, das mische Gassoi Gott in you, so nehmen schon an. Was fahren und ne fragen mich, hat ihr von euer Feind? Kinderlich wird zwischen sich schon frei. Kommen sie Kinder, zwischen sich wird frei.
Thanks be to God, the morning light appears. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah. 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 The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah. 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 The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. Hallelujah. 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 The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over. The storm is passing over.
Aaron Bousel on accordion. Thank you.
You guys want to hear something funny? Yes. Do you know that Native American people do not clap? So when the first Europeans came, they did something with the huzzay, huzzay, and then there was some clapping. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? True story, true story. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It is an honor to be here sharing so many delightful and beautiful and inspiring stories and music. I'm just really humbled to be in the presence. I see there's been a lot of fun happening at this event for decades now, so I'm happy to join to be part of that. I want to share a couple songs and a couple stories. I think I have enough time for that. I also want to open up and saying this time of year is very sacred to the Nipmuc people. We are the Nipmuc, the people of the fresh water. We call this in our language the Feast of Dreams, because this is the time of a lot of darkness. Sorry, adult ADD. I thought it was calling. These are the times where stories are told most of the time, and actually, traditionally, we do not tell stories in the summertime because they're so engaging that all the animals won't do all the work that they need to do, and they'll stop, and they won't pay attention to the stories. So we'll always make sure the winter time is the time of stories. And the most important thing I want to share is opening up in the words that were spoken on this land for thousands of years. In that traditional way, we tell our stories first in our language. So I say, "Wu nasha natumu manatu, tabatni, watu chikinisin, okumis, tabatni wuchi sabasu, usakatia huana, notas ninuamenantiok, king nuta yiu pantaminok, and the male ninuame quantum kichia, ka mata wananta, ka nagwatie kokuta ninua, manatu, usakatia huana, womanetatiu. Ka nosokomuso amoke, ninoho kenkantu chokes. Yayo, tabani manatu ni wichiayim, wanagugish. Wanagugish. I greet you all in the words of my Nipmuc language. I greet you all in the words of peace and reciprocity in the time of sharing, in the time of coming together. I reminded all of us about our ancestors, those who are past and those yet to be born, that they share this space with us and they share these stories with us. And I also want to preface that stories for Indigenous people are a way of teaching and sharing all the different things that make us who we are. Love, how to take care of the land, diplomacy, understanding the skies, understanding the water, teaching and passing it on. The schools were our stories. So all aspects of living were come through the stories. And sometimes stories were told to have fun, but they were always about teaching something, and a very, very important lesson. But first of all, I want to share another important story that we tell with our drum. And the drum, as you may have heard, the maxim that is the heartbeat of Mother Earth, and it truly is, because something my grandfather taught me and his grandfather taught him, and when we have differences, we're reminded that every living thing, and we all know what this sounds like, right? A heartbeat. Every living thing, and not just human beings, the two-legged. I'm talking about grass, trees, all our relations. And you know, science has a word for all my relations too. It's called quantum physics. And they're catching up, finally. And so we're reminded that every living thing is doing this inside, vibrating. And so we connect to that vibration. And when we think about every living thing having a heartbeat internally, all the external stuff of color, language, nationality, where we come from, kind of melts away. We realize we're just speaking to another heartbeat. So I want to open up and share this Nipmuc healing song, because I think the world always needs healing, especially now. Did you like that song? Did you really like it? Okay, I have one more. Actually, we are on traditional Nipmuc and Pakumtuk land. I sang a song, I shared the language. Now it's time for you, I mentioned that word, reciprocity. So now it's your turn to sing a Nipmuc song. You probably never sang a Nipmuc song before, so I'll do it a little bit and then it'll be your time. It goes like this, and this is a traditional rattle for our, what we call our social longhouse songs. And it goes like this. Ayane ho, yane hayane ho, ayane ho, yane hayane ho, You got that? You ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, not bad. Okay, I have an idea. Let's break this down. We're gonna do this together. This section of folks over here, I want you to say, yo ho. Yo ho. Beautiful. This folks in the middle, say, we ha. We ha. And the folks over here, you get the best part. You're gonna say, yo, hey, diaphragm. Yo, hey. So it's yo ho, we ha, yo, hey. One more time. Yo ho, we ha, yo, hey. Okay. So that's your part. I'm going to do my part, and I'll kill you. All right, hold on. You're getting ahead of yourself. Okay. Here we go. Hayane ho, yane hayane ho. Hayane ho, yane hayane ho. Hayane yo, hane. Oh. All right. It's yo. Hey! Okay. I mean, there are a lot of artists in here, so you know that we can't leave it like that. We gotta fix that. Okay, so that was a test. We'll just call that a test. That was a run through. And you folks up here, I apologize and not forget you, so you just join in as the alignment goes. So one more time. Here we go. Hayane ho, yane hayane ho. The kids got it great. Hayane ho, yane hayane ho. Hayane ho, yane. Woo! All right, give yourself a hand. All right. Oh, thank you. That was wonderful. Good job. All right, thank you. That was wonderful. Stories, music are medicine. And I'm really excited to be here to share this, especially this time of year. I mean, certainly we know of the crisis across the globe, but locally, internally also, this time of year brings up many feelings, many hardships for various reasons. So to come together and laugh and tell stories and just share space together is really beautiful. I heard folks earlier talking about how the stories would go all through the night. Well, that's how the native folks did it with the stories. Listening to my mom talking about her grandmother and great-grandmother, and back then, of course, there was no TVs and things like that, and my mom, we're actually first-generation city, me and my siblings, and my family grew up on a place much rural where we are right now, with no running water and electricity and outhouses and all that fun stuff, and so she'd have to go out and hunt for her food every morning, kid you not, and so stories were a way of life and coming together, and they would sit by the fire and tell these stories, and really that's how it was passed down to me, learning the technique, learning the importance and so on. So it's a really beautiful thing, and that was the medicine to overcome so many hardships that I can't imagine what they were going through. And so with that, I want to share a couple of stories, and I think this first one will be, I heard a lot of animal, birds, like woodpecker stories I heard earlier. Yeah, that was really cute. You know, my neighbor, she sings to her chickens. So I was thinking about her. Okay, let's start off with a question, because the stories that we share are always engaging. We'll start off with a question. What is man's best friend? Well, not say man, let's say human being's best friend. What animal is that? Well, we have a cat person. Well, there's always one cat person. Yeah, so it's usually dogs, and I like cats too. It's got to be the big ones, though. The small ones that they freak me out. So yes, dogs. We'll talk about dogs. So, and with our stories, and there are many ancient stories, and I always lament the fact that I have such a short time with folks who do not really have the full breadth of the indigenous epistemology of stories because they are wide, long, and loud, and very dynamic and diverse. And so it's always good to set a context about where the stories are going to help the audience who may not be familiar with the style and the context. And if you're ever watching like some indigenous shows and you see the native people laugh, you're like, what are they laughing at? And it's from that context of the stories. And so one important thing to know about this land and the language that you were just listening to is that it goes back a very, very long time, thousands of years. And one of the questions that we ask is, how did the natives learn what they learned? And they learned from the animals. Yes, they did. They learned all their stories from the animals. Because I want to get your full attention. Now, all the different animals learned, taught the human beings who were here first, and they had to listen to them. And this story starts out with, does anybody remember? I'm asking her for water, because the dogs get thirsty. So, one of the things I have to remember is that all the people, when they learned from the human beings, the animals had to pay attention and help the human beings so they can learn. Now, this story starts out in a doggy village, not too far from here. A doggy village where they wanted to learn about the human beings and all the different things. But as the story goes, even though we can learn from the human beings as the doggies did, there was a time when human beings even native people, even though we were here a long time, kind of lost our way in our connection to paying attention to what all the different animals, not just the dogs, but the bears, the fish, and all the different things that were teaching us. And so there was a separation that was created. And after that time, we could no longer understand the doggies and human beings, because before that, we could talk to each other just like we're talking right now. But then suddenly the dog will be talking, how you doing, sir? And then, rah, 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 rah. And it went like that. And then we have barks, and we have howls, and we have roars, and suddenly that language is cut off from the human beings. Now, this story takes place in this doggy village, not too far from here. It might have been on Pakumtuk or Nipmuc land. Nobody knows for sure. But this story takes place right around that time in this doggy village. And this one little puppy, very inquisitive. He didn't really understand what was going on at this big shift, this big change in the landscape, but he wanted to know. So this little puppy dog went up to his mom and said, Mom, I heard there was a time that dogs and human beings could speak to each other. I want to be able to talk to a human being. And the mommy dog says, oh no, you can't do that. The human beings are crazy. We can't be near them, they're dangerous. But Mom, I want to talk to a human being. Now what did I tell you? The human beings are not safe, you must stay away from them. Well, so that was that. But as the story goes, all the mommy dogs and daddy dogs had to go on this very important trip, and they left the teenage dogs in charge. Yes. Well, you know where this is going. So, once they did that, the mommy dogs, all the dogs left, and the teenage dogs are in charge, and they're huddled up doing their teenage things, and the puppy dogs are kind of in their circles doing their things, and everything is right and all that. And so then, remember that little puppy dog I was talking about? So he's at this little circle with his other puppy dogs and his friend, and he says, you know, my mom says we can't talk to human beings, but you know what? I think I can even be a human being. And his friend just kind of looks at him and laughs. He says, human being? What are you talking about? You got a tail, you walk on all fours? And he laughed at him. He says, well, wait a minute. I think I can even walk like a human being. So he tries to stand up, falls back down. Tries to stand up, falls back down. And then, of course, you know, the teenage dogs are watching this. And they're looking, they're laughing. Oh, look at the little puppy. He thinks he can walk like a human being. And he laughed and they laughed. Oh, it was awful. So, of course, that puppy's dog's best friend, he says, well, nobody's going to make fun of my friend. Only I can do that. So he says, wait a minute. Try to stand up again. So just as the moment he tried to stand up, his best friend stood up with him at the same time, and they locked arms. And now they were able to stand up, and the two puppies started standing up, and then they started gently, slowly walking, and then they walked a little bit more. Then they started dancing. I said, wow, this is cool. And then as they were doing that, all the other puppies did the same thing. He said, hey, this is cool, we can stand up. So all the little puppy dogs locked arms, and they're doing their little dance, and they're square dancing. Well, if you're native, you're round dancing. And they're going around and around, having a good old time. And that puppy dog says, well, this is pretty good, but human beings do not have tails. So he reached around behind him and boop, pulled his tail off and threw it in a circle. And then before you know it, boop, 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 boop. All the puppies pulled their tail off. The brown dog, the gray dog, the white dog, on and on. And it was this big pile of doggy tails in the middle of the circle. He says, yay, now we look like human beings. They're dancing around, having a good old time. Then, oh no! The mommies and daddy dogs are coming back. The teenage lookout dog was watching. He saw them coming. And so suddenly, they knew they would be in big trouble pretending to be a human being. That was a big no-no. So in that moment of chaos, all the puppies dove into that pile of tails to get their tails on as quick as possible. They rolled around in the dirt. It was smoke everywhere. Nobody could see what they were doing. The white dog put on the black tail. The black dog put on the gray tail. The gray dog put on the spotted tail. Every dog put on the wrong tail. What a mess. Well, what a mess it was indeed. Because even to this day, that has caused a problem. So now, do you know what problem that caused for all dogs by putting on that wrong tail? So now, even to this day, when any dog sees another dog, the first thing he does is go around to the back side and says, is that my tail? Thank you. I want to, that's always a fun one. That's, I believe that's in one of my books downstairs. And I want to thank everybody who purchased one of my books. Every time you buy one of my books, it helps me finish my school. But if you buy two of my books, I don't have to finish my school. All right, I think I have time for one more story. And, this is a very ancient story I'm going to share. So I want to just put this here and kind of go into the moment, and I ask you to traverse back a little bit in time with me, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath. And it is stories like this, Kitakao Wanagugish, that helps us remember the remembering of story, the reconnection to the land, and understanding space. And as we started our stories, our elders teach us, long ago it was this way. There was in a Nipmuc village, and this was a very rough year. It was a scorching summer, a drought that had gone on for a long time. Animals, crops, everything was scarce. And the people of the village, the human beings, the two-legged, were hungry. The groans of empty stomachs echoed throughout the village. Murmurs of all kinds of bad things that were coming to the people. The warriors of the village went out and searched for food, each day going further and further, not finding anything. The people were starving, and it was a great sad time. And the more they tried, the more they looked, they got weaker, and some of them were not even able to make it back through the starvation of finding food. And finally, one of the warriors went to an elder, and I heard the stories earlier talking about the great women leaders, and this story talks about a great woman leader. She was a powwow, a kumis, which means grandmother in our language. And one of the warriors went to a kumis, who was a medicine woman, and they said, "Akumis, what are we to do? The people are starving. There's nothing to eat. We need help to live before we're all gone. There's nothing we can do. What can you do to help us?" And Akumis listened to his words, and she did the only thing she could do, is traverse into the dream world. And as we say, this is the time of the Feast of Dreams and the drumming and dreaming, which resonates our stories, which connects us back. And she went into a fast, and she entered into the dream world, into the lodge, into the land of endless spirits. And then when she emerged from this time of fasting and dreaming, she came out and says, "I have a message for the people. It is told that in the heart of the sun, there is a seed that will save our people. But we must get to the sun. We must get to the sun to retrieve this seed, and our people will be saved for many, many generations to come." And with that message, as always, a great council was formed of all the two-leggeds. But not only the two-leggeds, excuse me, but not only the two-leggeds, but all the different animals, because the animals in this time also understood the sharing. But even them offering up their bodies, offering up their lives to the human beings, even they were in scarcity. So they wanted to help whatever this message was. So alongside the human beings, all the different animals that were in the forest gathered in this great council in the circle. And in that circle, Okumis spoke her dream, spoke her story. And she talked about the idea of this seed in the heart of the sun. And now we understood that the two-legged human being does not have wings, so therefore he cannot retrieve it, but somebody must. And in this moment, Bumblebee, she stepped forward and said, "I will go to the sun. I will put this seed on my pollen basket and bring it back to the people and save them. I will do this." And so it was. Bumblebee set off to the sun, but the poor little thing, she didn't get too far, for she was small and her wings were not strong enough. And in the process of trying to reach the sun, she scorched her body, making it black and yellow in certain spots. And so she returned back to the circle. And next, Cuckoo House. That is our word for owl. Owl said, "I am much larger and stronger. I can take on this task for the two-legged." And he was always kind of had an attitude, owl. And that's why nipmunks don't like owls too much. But so Cuckoo Owl said, "I'll do this." So Owl, with his great wings husking toward the sun, he set off on his journey. And he went on and on. And he got much further than Bumblebee. But he too, as he looked into the sun, he forgot to close his eyes or something. Nobody knows. But he injured his eyes, and he had to return in frustration. And even to this day, the owls are farsighted because of this. They can't see things close. They have to see far. And so the owl landed back in a circle. He says, "I am sorry. I have tried to reach the sun, even with my great wings, and I injured myself, and I'm upset. This task cannot be done. We must forego this." And the people were sad, and by this time there were more human beings that had passed away. And then just as that moment, another bird stepped into the circle. He had big wings as well, and he was all white, and his name was Kitakau. And Kitakau, with his white gleaming feathers, stepped into the circle and said, "I am Kitakau, and I always delighted in getting seeds. Therefore, I will take on this endeavor and meet your needs of the human beings. You know, even since I was a small bird, I always enjoyed getting any kind of seeds. Even when I went here, I went there," and just in that moment, I'll cut him off. "Kitakau, the journey, remember? You said you were going to do this? Stop yapping. Of course, but certainly, we never must not forsake a good story as we're journeying anywhere. Kitakao! Okay, yes. So just in this moment, Okumis, she scratched her face and thought for a moment, She was very worried, because now too, the bumblebee failed, owl failed, and so she figured, well, Kitakao might not have much luck either. So she went back into her medicine lodge and made a little tiny medicine bag for Kitakao to carry with him, and she wrapped it around his neck. And then, at that moment, when she did that, all the other animals in the circle saw that: turtle, rabbit, owl, snake, bear, moose, deer. Every animal that was there created a little tiny medicine bag for Kitakao and put it around his neck. And off he went, Kitakao, the beautiful white bird, with his big wings, flow into the sun to retrieve the seed to save the Nipmunk people. And before you know it, Kitakao was gone into the sun. Nobody could see him. Night came. Kitakao had not returned. 2 days had passed. Still no Kitakao. He was gone. A week had passed. Several more people had passed away during this time. Suffering continued on. And by 3 weeks, the circle had cleared out. Everybody had given up, except Okumis. She stayed vigilant, looking to the skies, looking to the east, looking to the west. Kitakao, you must return. You must return. She never gave up. And the elder lady herself, lips parched, lips cracked from the drying sun, fading, dehydrated, still looking. And then one morning, the following day, she looked to the west, her eyes nearly closed from weariness, and she could see something faint off in the distance where the sun was setting. And there's this little dot, little black dot in the sky. And then she kept looking, like, kind of rubbing her eyes. And as she looked, the dot got a little larger and larger and larger and larger. And pretty soon she could see it was a bird flying. It was a blackbird, and it had something in its mouth, and it flew closer and closer. And it circled over her head, and she was mesmerized by the size of it, and it was completely black, so she was confused. And then suddenly, the bird landed right in front of her, and it had the seed from the sun in its mouth. But the elder, Okumis, was confused, and she looked. Weariness had overtaken her, and she looks on and says, Kitakao? Is that you? And she knew Kitakao was white. Who was this bird? And this bird, this large black bird, didn't say nothing, just stood there. Put the seed down and kind of looked side to side, looked at himself, and the bird finally, with a grovelly voice, said, Kitakao. Kitakao. Yes. That was who I used to be. Now, I am Kankantu. I have traveled in the realm between life, death, and dreams. And the power of Father Sun has parched my feathers and body black as the night sky, as well as my voice. I have dwelled in these many places, but I have returned to you with this gift of the seed. But because of my sacrifice, I will come and eat of this seed from time to time. But I share this with you, my sister, for your people, for all time to come. And the elder, Okumis, dropped to her knees in gratefulness and said, thank you. And she was so overwhelmed with joy of the sacrifice of Kitakao and now Kankantu, the crow. And this is how the crow becomes black. And this is how Wichamin is what the elder woman called it. We Chamin. And this is how corn comes to the Nipmuc people. And when we say we share the corn with the crows, this is why, because they are the givers of the corn. Pitavadimish, thank you.
So that song, the other thing about that song that was, aside from just the coincidence and of all of that, that's one of those songs you can, again, song of John's a primary writer on, you can write a song one way and think that it's about one thing, and then it turns out it's about two things or two perspectives. So that's one of the reasons we like that song. So we have one more.
It's about light.
It's about light. Yeah. In this season of light and dark. Called Leave Your Light On.
Again, we're so thankful to them.
Yeah, really. Thank you for all for staying around.
Leave your light on, babe. Leave your light on low. Leave your light on, honey, so the neighbors know. I'm on my way. I'll be there soon. Leave your light on, babe, shining like the moon. Leave your light on, babe. Leave your light on bright. Leave your light on turning in the middle of the night. When darkness comes, close your see. Leave the light on, babe, when you need a friend. Leave the light on, babe. Leave the light on high. Leave the light on sugar, sweet the sky. When I'm lost and alone, leave the light on, babe. Leave me home. Leave the light on early. Leave the light on late. Leave it on all the time. Let's not wait. I got a plan. Here's what we'll do. Leave yours on for me, and I'll leave mine on for you. Leave your light on, babe. Leave your light on low. Leave your light on, honey, so the neighbors know. I'm on my way. I'll be there soon. Leave your light on, babe, shining like the moon. Leave your light on, babe, shining like the moon. Leave your light on, babe, shining, like the moon.
Very much.
When you leave your light on is another name for this story, I've just decided. There's something so amazing when we're courageous. I feel like, our senses, smelling, tasting, the senses we know, there's these other senses that I want to tell you about. And I think it's like tasting somebody's courage and having someone's life really matter to you, even if you've never met them. We're gonna sing the long line. We're gonna see the long line. We're gonna know the long line. We're gonna need the long line. I want to hold 5 women in history and bring them to you so you can feel their light. I want to begin in Greece, 550 BCE. The person I'd like you to meet is someone I actually think about a lot. Her name is Karina. And Karina was a poet-musician, which is what's been happening tonight. There was a statue to Karina. Think about if you go downtown in Northampton, there's a statue to Janet Alves, the poet laureate. So what this meant, now, today, the Greek poet that we know the best is named Pindar. People can get a PhD in studying his poetry. Guess who taught Pindar? It was Karina. And then they would set up these poetry contests. They were in a poetry contest together 5 times. She won every one. And right now, there's just a few scant lines of her poetry. So what I think one of the secrets of this long line that we're trying to find together is that her light matters. We can still find her light. Can you feel her in some way, what she must have been like? I think that she wrote to the mountains. I think she could taste the mountains talking. Bless you, Karina. We're putting you into the long line tonight. I'm going to go way, way, way far ahead to the French Revolution. So it was a time when women were called inferior, thought to have smaller brains. You can imagine what that felt like to Mary Wollstonecraft. So she wrote a book, Vindication of the Rights of Women. She wrote it in 1792. And she was hoping that the French Revolution would make things equal for everybody, and it did not. But that book you can find, and because she's so fascinated to me, when I needed to change my middle name is now Wollstonecraft. I wanted to graft her courage, wear her courage. Now we go just a little further forward. I'm going to take you to 1836, the opening of the doors of Mount Holyoke College. Mary Lyon was born next town over in Buckland. For 4 years, she went door to door to raise money. And people said, that is appalling. That is improper. And her answer was, I'm doing a great work. Now we go ahead, and the details are so important. I want to get them just so. Let's go to a chief of the Nipmuc Nation. And as Larry and I were talking, she's a cousin of yours. So, Zara Cisco Bro, Chief Sonskwa of the Hasanamisko, the Nipmuc Nation, from 1962 to 1987. She was so skillful, she studied engineering. She was an electronics engineer. She co-owned a textile printing company. I have the sense about her that she could do everything. She returned to her ancestral homeland, and what came up in her was the primary thing she wanted to do was secure the land and rights of the Nipmuc into Nipmuc hands, rebuilding. So let's feel her blaze, feel her beacon, be so glad for her, be so glad for her with this major restoration. Let's put her in the sky as a star that will always shine on us. And the last person was born today. This happens to be her birthday. Her husband called me. She died 2 years ago. It's Paula Green. Paula Green grew up in Newark with a family did not have much money, and there was this blaze in her to just keep going. When the Peace Pagoda folks were trying to figure out how are we going to get the support we need to make the Peace Pagoda, she had all the monks live in her home. And she was helping to make sure it was see what happened was Slow Turtle met in Vienna Nichidatsu Fuji, who started the Peace Pagodas. And Slow Turtle invited Nichidatsu Fuji to come to Turtle Island. This is so significant because Nichidatsu Fuji from Japan, his 60th birthday, the Hiroshima bomb. So he prayed, and what he felt was, what is the opposite of something so sundering? It was to create peace pagodas. But we know quantum physics, or the web of life, or the reciprocity, that you can't do it alone. So there was Paula making it possible. One time she said to me, I've been working as a therapist. I feel like I need to do something more than helping one person. So the anniversary of Auschwitz closing, she organized this wondrous gathering of beings, and people felt her spirit, and they said, would you come to Rwanda? Can you help the women of the two sides whose husbands have hurt the other side? Could you help them talk to each other? She did. She went to 30 countries. She founded the Karuna Center in 1994. So she's never died. That's the secret for all of us. We don't die. The blaze each of us has will live forever. And so we hold each other like a necklace that we wear at the heart of the world. You can look at the names on this later.
Well, it's 9:40. We started at 6:30. A long night of stories and music, beautiful stories to celebrate one of the longest nights of the year. And I have the honor to give the benediction. I'm going to keep it short, real short, teeny tiny. And then Tim and the rest of us will sing a song to send us off in the world. Sometimes a story lands on you. It drills down kind of into your heart. It reminds you of what it means to be a human being living on this earth. I'd forgotten about this story, though it was published in a book I spent 5 years creating. But it came back this year and it keeps moving me. Can I tell you a teeny tiny story? As we head out into this dark night and go back to our homes, most of us with family who we love. A man feeling disappointed and small had had enough. And so he left his home. He set out into the world, hoping, praying he might just once find one thing that was pure and simple and beautiful. It was a long journey, sometimes perilous and sometimes lovely. And one evening, he found his way home as the sun was setting behind his house. And you know, it was a warm, warm light glowing in his house. And he could see through the window, and there, sitting around the table, the sturdy wooden table he knew so well, was his family, breaking bread together. And he was glad, so glad to be home again. At last, he thought. At last, I have found what I was searching for.
I feel like Ranger and Janine should come up too, but you're kind of busy up there. Hi, Janine. Thank you.
Thank you for me.
This is such an awesome song. You're going to love it.
John Smith wrote it. It's called Safe Home. We've come through the valleys, we've come through the hills, we've crossed over rivers to find ourselves here. We told tales of solstice, we sang songs of love. Let's sing one more together, sing ourselves off. Here's the chorus. Safe home, safe home. Safe home will you go, may the light of the moon smile down on you road. Safe home, safe home, safe home will you go, until I next see you, safe home will you go.
end, you get a special prize that John will be handing you as you leave. You can knock the microphone off the stage.
We've come through the valleys, we've come through the hills, we've crossed over rivers to find ourselves here. We told tales of solstice, we sang songs of love. Let's sing one more together, sing ourselves off. Here's the chorus. Sing home, sing home. Sing home will you go, may the light of the moon smile down on your road. Sing home, stay home, stay home will you go, until I next see you, stay home will you go. We're going to sing that over and over, so you'll pick it up. Stay home, stay home.